Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to Local Marana,
Good morning.
the live broadcast
That
that we do quite often. And we're going to have a couple sessions this week. We're
Yep.
going to have one today, and then tomorrow we're going to have Jan Lesher on tomorrow.
That's
Am I
correct.
Oh, that is pretty cool. And
Yeah.
what does she do again?
She's the county administrator for the Pima County.
Whoa. How'd you land that, Clint?
Yeah. Well, we know people, David. You know people. Scott knows people. I know people.
Yeah. Well, it's great to be here. It's summertime. School's out. The traffic is nil. I think all of us
Isn't it cool?
The drive-in's it's like just a ghost town.
Looking around.
Yeah, it's great. Hey, before we get really started today, we want to remind listeners and viewers that you can chime in on the chat. It is being monitored. Just be cool with it. I mean, don't be saying you can say whatever you want, but don't be super crazy.
You get crazy, we're going to delete it.
If I owe you money or something, just give me a call later and you'll put it in there. Also, you can call in at 520-373-2059 to talk with us. We can hear you and we can communicate with you. It's pretty cool.
We got a special guest coming up at the top of the hour at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, at 9 o'clock, we have the Pima County Sheriff candidate, Bill Phillips, will be joining us. I got some history with Bill. He's a good dude.
Yep.
It's always great to have these political candidates wanting to come on the show because it says something. It says that the audience that we have is of a size where it is making an impact, which we're really proud of. And the other thing is it's a source where people can go for some trusted media.
Yep.
And we know that these days that with some of your bigger media entities, they're pretty much clowns in a circus, right? And we're not doing any of that. We're giving everybody a voice here.
We're not 90 seconds in, and you're already dropping it.
You know what?
It is what it is, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gonna say on my tomb. You know what I mean? The legacy media was clowns.
Yeah, it is.
But before we get into all that, we got the whole squad here. We got Clint and Scott's gonna take us into
and full disclosure,
traffic and weather.
I'm gonna call Scott and myself both out. We've been fighting some kind of summer thing going on, so if we sound a little funkier than we normally do, Scott and I are medicating. So
yeah, you guys got hit hard. So did my kids.
Yeah,
my kids got
it's really weird.
shellacked by it. Oof.
Yeah, I'm a week in.
Okay, well, with that, I'm going to clear my throat and going to get you some weather.
Let's do it.
So weather, hot.
Yeah.
It actually, today's going to be about 104, but it's going to creep up into the 107s for the next couple days after that. So that's
So early.
That's pretty crazy. As I'm kind of scrolling and looking at traffic, it's kind of we have our repeat offenders of the that I-10 and Ina in between Orange Grove and Ina. It's a little congested. I mean, you see, most of this is construction type stuff with the closed roadway. But other than that, you guys have felt it. We probably all felt it. It's a lot less traffic right now. It's easier to get to and from. School's out. People are on vacation.
Yeah.
And
there's something there on, what is it? Is that Ina and Thorndale, Orange Grove and Thorndale?
this guy?
See that little caution mark there? That just popped up.
Ooh, let's see. Marana Police Department, Orange Grove and River.
Oh, close.
Deputy on
Still.
scene, traffic incident, prop damage. Now, that shouldn't be damage to your propeller because I don't think there's an aviation accident there. But prop damage is probably property.
Yeah. Well, that's in Marana, so that just popped up.
Yeah.
It's so funny to me that the ADOT still calls the Marana police deputies.
Do they?
It says deputy on scene. Marana police deputy on scene.
What's the
Every time
matter
I
with
go
them?
on the city stuff, it says deputy on scene.
What's the matter with them?
It kind of got promoted, I guess. You got a little more power there. It's take it. Run with it. See what happens. Maybe make the badge a star again. I don't know. Whatever.
Whatever's cool.
Whatever's cool.
Trendy. Whatever's going to help with recruiting.
Yeah. Hey, we're this now. We have these powers. So I want to go ahead.
You
got something.
mentioned the heat, Scott, and it is hot certainly during the day, but it's still comfortable in the morning when you get up, especially if you're up early, like we were this morning. 5:30, 5:15. It was actually almost a little chilly. You could feel a little chill in the air when you went out, but
Still dry enough for that.
Yeah. So if you're going to do any outdoor activities, I would suggest you do it before 9 o'clock. So it was still pleasant. But yeah, the roads are crazy light right now.
I love it.
Isn't that amazing how school affects all that traffic in that 7 to 9 o'clock hour.
Yeah. So I usually go and try to knock out a little workout about, I don't know, 3 o'clock. And after I get done, I come down Ina from Shannon, and it usually takes me 15 to 20 minutes to get from Shannon to here. And we're only like, 4 or 5 lights away. Yesterday I did it, and it took me 5 minutes. Like just...
Well, getting through that light there with all that construction over on Cotero is crazy. Mm-hmm. But I haven't seen the backup, so I guess a lot of that's still...
Oh, really? The excessive heat warnings are coming. Scott was talking about how hot it's going to get, and I know that the National Weather Service put out some excessive heat warnings. And we have an expert in-house on identifying symptoms of heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and Scott has information on that. And Scott, I want to rely on you heavy on that to educate our listeners to make sure they're taking care of themselves and their others, and making sure that nothing's getting left, no living thing is getting left inside of vehicles and things like that. So what are some symptoms of some heat exhaustion and heat stroke? Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, I think the most important thing, especially now, is just like Clint had mentioned, we're nice and cool in the mornings and we're dry in the mornings. And what happens, especially with folks coming from out of town, is they go, yeah, today's the day that I hike Catalina State Park. And they go up there, they're a little bit underprepared. It's 75 when you start, but it's about 100 after a few hours. And so tourists, we see it a lot because you end up having to do a lot of state park rescues because they run out of water. There's no shade. You feel dry, so you're not feeling like you're sweating and like you don't have the normal heat symptoms that you would because it's so dry. So once your body starts to dehydrate and you overheat, then you're working from behind. So what we always try to remind people is hydrate way more than you think you would. In the desert, electrolytes are huge. They have those products like Liquid IV and different things that you can just put into your water. And what that does is that helps your body absorb and get all of that water into the cells. And that's what you want. You want a little electrolyte balance. You want the sodium in there to help drive that water into the cells so that you're not just circulating it out and losing it. So those are a few tips right now. We would say most important thing is cut your workouts out early if you're not used to it, and pre-hydrate with a ton of water and electrolytes. That's the best tip for this time.
Hey, Scott, regarding the pre-hydrating, the pre-hydrating,
yes.
What's a good time frame to start that? Are we talking like, if you're getting ready to do something where you're outside of your normal curricular activities, would you suggest intaking more water and electrolytes? Like how many hours in advance? A day, 8 hours? What's a good time frame for that?
Yeah, well, you know what happened. Most of us are coffee drinkers in the morning, and coffee being a diuretic, coffee actually will dehydrate you. So a lot of folks, they'll start off their morning, they'll just have some coffee. They won't really have any water or much food, because food is actually very hydrating as well. There's a lot of water in food. And so what they do is they start from a dehydrated state. So I would say if you're interested in doing anything outdoors, you've got to start with a couple glasses of water, and I would add the electrolytes then. You can get electrolytes in your food if you're having a breakfast that's got some salt in it, like some nice lean turkey sausage, some eggs, some different things that you salt that will actually help with that water. If you're not an early breakfast drinker, I would limit the coffee, and then I would add some electrolytes and drink a couple cups of water.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, man.
You're
the best.
While you're doing that, Scott, I'm thinking we need to. I'm going to propose this right now.
Hear ye, hear ye.
We need some public service announcements from Live the Dream Media and local Marana to play all summer, because we're going to have this heat as it is now for the next 4 months plus. So.
Yeah, the Drop It Like It's Hot campaign.
Yeah.
I just made that up. I know that's a song title for somebody, but
yeah, but and like Scott says, even although a lot of locals get caught up in this too, we don't understand that, but especially tourists that come into town,
yeah,
can be misled, because the desert can sneak up on you pretty quick if you're not careful, prepared for it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm excited for monsoon season too.
Yeah, we got that to look forward to in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So.
They're saying it's more likely than not that it'll be drier, but I still love those afternoons when you see the rain falling you can see it from a distance. You see the rain falling, the storm's coming, and you get that cold breeze comes through, smells like the creosote. I should write a book, and it comes through and it just feels good. Yeah, I love that. Sitting on the porch. Oh, it's the best, man. I think that's like one of the wonders here. I think everybody gets pumped for that time of year.
Yeah.
I like all of that except for, I don't know, finding out that all your windows are leaking at the same time. And then you end up out of your house for a year. And that's where we're at. We're 2 days away from getting back into our house. But I got a little PTSD from monsoons the last couple of years because they've caused a whole entire remodel on our house, but that's all right.
So anyone that's late to the game here, Scott has been homeless,
unhoused
for a year. Is that correct?
Yes, and I appreciate the proper term.
Yeah, PC it up, Clint. Come on, man.
I'm unhoused. We've gone through a major renovation, mostly due to skylight and window leaking. And but we're coming around. We've been out of our house for a year because when you deal with insurance and multiple contractors and anybody that's been through that, let's start a support group because there's a lot that goes into that, and I'm willing to be here to support you.
Yeah, dealing with contractors 101. Oh. The whole
stories he shares when he comes in here just
makes my heart race.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, dude,
Oh, poor dude, come here. You need a hug?
He's talking about the water going in the house thing. So I'm getting my house painted right now, which is expensive. I found out, how you were talking about, water getting in your house? Dude, I had so many really huge cracks on the back end in the stucco. And if if we wouldn't have pulled the trigger, I might have been referring to Scott's book on the whole his adventure on the whole thing because it was just bad. He sent me a picture. He's like, dude, look at this, and it was all the touch-up patching, and I was like, oh my gosh, man, you just don't know unless you really look. So it's just, but you know what, Scott, we're gonna change the history for you. We'll do a really cool barbecue this summer or something.
Yeah, we're going to have the grand reopening of the Robb household and have a nice little cookout. There's a smoker that I saw in our break room that we can have. We can fire up all of that and maybe just invite the public and just say, a grand reopening, welcome back. I get to live in a house.
But in all seriousness, this has been a year, correct?
Yeah, it'll be a year, June 9th.
And today, for time stamping purposes, is the 5th.
Wow.
So he's 361. We had a leap year, so 362 days.
Yeah, and
you're on point.
If you do the math, you're probably like, well, you had a monsoon in June that got you out, and it's like, no. This is part of a much bigger thing that actually started in 2021, I think the original claim was. And I'm not going to bore anybody with the details because that's why you want to go to my support group if you end up in the same situation, and we can all talk about it, and I can help you with tips and tricks to get through it. But yes, this will be about 2 years in the making, but 1 year of being fully out of the house.
Wow. I wonder how many people that are down in Tucson on the side of the street are dealing with the same housing issue that you did, Scott.
I feel like I can relate, honestly.
Yeah. They had, there was mold in there, and they just went to the streets and started smoking stuff out of straws. But
that's why.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I'm a little pushy today. I kid.
He's a little edgy.
I hope they get help.
Yeah. I hope they get help too. We are pulling for you, but yeah. Hey, real quick, hit the news. Hit the news, and I got to bring this up. Let's see, today is Wednesday. So Monday, I don't know if anybody was paying attention to this, but Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett stock, sells for $628,000 a share.
That's it?
$628,000. There's different classifications, but the real stuff sells for $628,000 a share. But on Monday, there was a glitch in the system. And for about 90 minutes, you could buy Berkshire Hathaway for $185 a share.
Oh, did you grab some?
No, I did not. And it, it wouldn't have mattered because the New York Stock Exchange is invalidating all those purchases.
Oh, how convenient.
Makes sense.
Yeah. 628,000 a share. And for 90 minutes on Monday, you could pick the same stock up for $185. It was a 99.97% reduction in the price of Berkshire Hathaway.
Must be nice to be part of the establishment, huh?
Yeah.
Well, you could just go back on that and say, hey, no big deal.
My bad. We're going to, yeah. Well, I remember to kind of follow up on that, and I don't remember the exact time frame, but it's been probably about 2010. We had the reverse happen. Well, the same thing happened. It was a flash drop in the market, and there was no clawback, and there were people wiped out. Yeah, I remember I was day trading at the time, and I remember it dropped 1,000 points. That's back when it was about, I can't remember, maybe 10,000. Stock market was at 10 or 11,000. It's now at 40,000. And it dropped 1,000 points in just minutes. And people that had the automatic triggers built in were wiped out. And there was no recourse. There was no backup. It just happened.
Whoa.
So I guess if you've got the leverage of, not to be a conspiracy theorist, but if you've got the leverage of Warren Buffett, we can fix it. If you don't, and I remember at that time watching my stuff that I was trading, well, even stuff that I was holding, but just drop like dramatically.
Wow.
You know, something else I read in this week, because I'm still I'm actively involved in the market. I'm not actively trading the market, but I'm actively involved in the market. Public companies are going away. I mean, a decade ago we had 9,000 publicly traded companies. I'm rounding off. If anybody wants to give exact numbers, and we're less than half of that now. Most public companies over $100 million are going into private ownership, which is fine. I'm not making an opinion about any of this. It's just they're being held by mutual fund holders and private equity companies and stuff like that, which makes total sense. I mean,
why?
Convenience, more control. If you're a public company, you're out there in the market, and everything you do is under scrutiny. Whereas if you're private, some of the largest companies in the world that you would be familiar with, like the Mars Candy Company, totally private. So we don't really know.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A, private. I mean, and that's fine. I mean, but I didn't realize the number was that dramatic, and it's kind of alarming, especially to the bankers, which never concerns me too much. I mean, actually, that's a good thing. But they're really concerned that the private, of course, they'll
find ways to get
the bankers. Their whole purpose is to take companies public. That's their whole. That's how they make money.
Yeah.
You know. But I was shocked when I read that how many public companies we had a few years ago versus now. We've lost 2/3 of our public companies in the last couple decades.
Do you? Is it tie into the economic environment in your opinion?
Absolutely.
I mean, we're in a pretty bad spot.
Oh, absolutely.
Right now.
Well, the stock market is not representative of
the economy.
The actual economy. Yeah. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
There's an old saying in the market, and I think that's part of why, because I've been involved in the market for 40 plus years, actively involved in the market for a couple of decades, and then for a period of time, anybody that knows me, I was a day trader for several years, and it was a high stress way to make a lot of money or way to lose a lot of money real quickly if you weren't careful. I've always been conservative when it comes to that, so I wasn't going to lose a ton. But but the stock market, there's an old saying in the stock market, is sell in May and go away. So we're in that summertime doldrums. So anybody that's a savvy market involved in the market is really paying close attention right now.
Yeah.
So because most heavy funders are on vacation, and people that are in the market heavily, they're taking a lot of vacations and stuff. The other thing that is kind of disturbing is, and this is disturbing, the CEOs in American corporations typically make 200 to 300 or 400 times more than the average employee that works for them, which that's not a good thing, in my opinion. 200 or 300 times more than the people that make you the money is.
Yeah, top heavy organizations.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in, if you and I've had this conversation 100 times. Mm-hmm. Everybody that contributes should be compensated according to whatever they contributed.
Right.
So the ones that contributed a lot should be compensated, and the ones that didn't contribute that much should not be. But
hey, whoa! You're sharing the Live the Dream business model here for the broadcasting recruitment that we're doing in the fall. But it is just that. It's not about executives getting all the money. It's about the people and the talent and everybody that is contributing to make this bigger, to be able to be involved in the profit sharing.
And Scott, I'm glad you picked up on that, because I think that's why I am where I am.
You're an entrepreneur.
In my head, though, with doing this research. Thanks for picking up on that, Scott, because that's kind of where I'm at. I think that's why I'm. Now I would have found the Berkshire story, because that was kind of headlines in the financial market. But I think part of my digging into what we're getting ready to launch this fall, I think Scott was right on the mark by picking up on that, because I do believe that. I believe that if it's kind of like an athlete. If you're really good at what you do and you're helping our club win, well, we need to compensate you. That's why free agents make so much money. I wish it was set up a little differently. I wish it's more like on production than perceived value. But the union's not going to let that happen. But you know what I'm saying. If you came in and, let's say, on a scale of 1 to 10, and we accomplished a 10, and someone contributed 75% of that, well,
right.
I'm going to guess that person's check and compensation should be bigger than the ones that didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well.
Not to minimize the people that didn't contribute as much, because they're still valuable. But who's really producing, right?
Do you work for the fire union, Clint? Because that's a consistent line negotiation, as you would imagine, is the workforce that is providing the service that the taxpayers actually want are also the least compensated. And so there's a consistent battle, and we get it. There's tenure, there's different responsibilities, right? But the people providing the service and the expectation for the taxpayers are the ones getting paid the least. And that's been a traditional structure that is trying to evolve over time, I think.
And that's the constant, if you will, arm wrestling that takes place. Is how do you compensate for that? Because the stars need that. If you're getting victories for me, you need to be compensated. Yet on the same token, the guy that cleans up after the game is pretty valuable too. Does that make sense? The janitor is pretty important if they're doing their job as well. So you know what it boils down to. I'm gonna quote somebody that my mother.
We're gonna come up on an ad soon.
Quote your mom first.
Yeah. Well, and this is my mom, and she was quoting Virgin Richardson. Is the reality of it is it takes all of us to do it, and it's not always the one in front, and we need people that are in leadership that are benevolent. Mm. You know what I'm saying? A benevolent leader recognizes the whole picture.
Yeah. I think that we have a problem with, I'm not going to say who, but our generational movement now is everybody thinks they're entitled to a job.
Yeah.
And they don't want to earn a job. I think there's an earning problem.
Yeah.
Like, you got to earn that job first, then earn in the job.
Yeah.
And it's usually, now most people are like, I should have a job.
Everybody wants to start as the CEO or the shop foreman or
Don't do
whatever.
it.
You know, I mean, and that's just not reality. But if and that's where it's up to us, and it's incumbent on us. And Scott, I'm glad you brought that up. As we grow out our network, it's incumbent on us to take a 35,000 foot view of things, and realize what everyone's worth is. Will we get it right all the time? I don't think we will.
Yeah.
But we will be benevolent in our approach to that. That the big guy, the little guy, everybody in between all makes up part of the whole.
Yeah. Well, we'll get back. We got our guest,
I'm going to
Bill
jump
Phillips,
out for a little bit.
joining us here shortly after this ad break. And again, thank you to our sponsors. We will see you shortly.
Discover the power of 88 Crime, where your anonymous tips are rewarded with cash. When you call in anonymously with a tip, you are given a code. With the code and a password, you can walk into a bank and redeem your reward anonymously. If your anonymous tip results in a felony arrest, you can claim up to $2,500 cash reward. Let's stop the silence on crime and strive for a safer community. For more information, please visit 88crime.org or call 88crime.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, CopperCreekCookies.net.
We can print anything on our soft vanilla logo cookies. We deliver them and other sweet treats locally. We are located at 4249 West Ina Road, Suite 121. Call us 520-300-1131. We bake smiles.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, CopperCreekCookies.net.
Are you looking to establish a powerful online presence for your brand? Look no further than Live the Dream Media. Our team of experts possess the capabilities and skills necessary to make it happen. From creating compelling content to analyzing data and making strategic decisions, we've got it covered. Don't let a lack of social media know-how hold you back. Visit ltdmedia.net for more information.
Hi, I'm Alan Murdoch. For the past 20 years, I've been buying, fixing, and selling properties right here in Southern Arizona. And I want to buy your property. Whether it's a house, apartment, commercial building, or vacant land, regardless of the condition or the situation, I want to talk to you. When you sell to me, I pay cash and it's hassle-free. No repairs, no closing costs, and no commissions. If you have a property you don't want to deal with and you want a quick solution, call, text, or visit selltalon.com. Again, that's selltalon.com.
Hi, I'm Melissa Zuppi, running for the Marana Town Council. As a resident of Marana, I've witnessed the positive growth that has created a strong community where people in all stages of life want to live. Unfortunately, with growth comes traffic. One of my top priorities and goals is to work towards securing funding for the improvement of Marana's high-traffic I-10 interchanges and local roadways. Let's keep Marana moving forward together. Vote Melissa Zuppi, Marana Town Council.
Hi, I'm Ed Honey, and I'm running for mayor of the town of Marana. I can assure you that if you have water now in the town of Marana, you will have it for the rest of your life. Water is not going to go away. Our water table in North Marana has gone from 300 feet down to 140 feet at the current status. Water will be here forever. Please support Melissa Zuppi, Roxanne Ziegler, and Ed Honey for Marana Town Council.
Oh yeah, I always take a drink. Right? Yeah. Oh yeah, I always take a drink.
As long as it's not a beer, right?
I don't know. Depends who's in the studio that day. I don't know.
Guess what time of day?
We're gonna be open in the studio on weekends, so we don't know what's gonna happen at that point. But yeah, hey, we're back, and we're just discussing the process of drinking coffee.
Drinking on duty.
Drinking on duty.
Drinking on duty.
In the studio. But we have an awesome guest here today. Another political candidate here locally, and part of our local Marana community initiative is to make sure we have a platform for people to come and talk. And we want to hear from Bill Phillips today about his campaign, what he's bringing to the table, what he's looking to do, and what he's hopeful for. So just go ahead and introduce the folks about who you are.
There we go. Good, nice applause. I like that. So, no, Bill Phillips. We've worked together when we were doing the SRO stuff and putting the active shooter workshop together. Running for Pima County Sheriff. I worked for the department for 31 years. I retired just about a year and a half ago. Did a lot of different things at the department. I was a I was a deputy for about 11 years, a sergeant for 18, and a lieutenant for the last 2 years. So, I like to say that, I've got the foundational knowledge. I did a lot of stuff. I wore a uniform to work, and I was out there either doing the work or supervising the work the majority of my career.
Yeah. I didn't know you promoted, man. Congrats.
Yeah, right at the end, last 2 years.
Okay. Yeah. So I've been out for 3 years in July.
Yeah,
So
we had the going away party with everybody at one time here at the studio, I think.
Yeah, and the mini space here.
Ryan Powell was leaving to Sunnyside. He took that job. He just got promoted to sergeant. He was going to Sunnyside, and then Scott McLeod, I think, was going to another assignment, that sort of thing.
Yeah, is Ryan still over at the school? Do you know?
Yes, he is doing that. Yeah,
that's really cool.
He's running the whole security program over there.
That's really
for Sunnyside.
cool.
Yeah, doing
that's
a good
really
job
cool.
over there. Good guy.
Now, the active shooter program, was that something your guys started that, right?
Yeah, and it took off all over the nation. I'm really proud of that. When people ask me some of the couple things that we've really done through your years, and that's probably the top deal. We were looking for something to do 7-8 years ago that would keep the SROs from going right back into patrol in the summertime. So we said, let's do something proactive for the community and give you a little bit of a break. And we kind of brainstormed and came up with this idea. So it was myself, and I think there were 12 SROs that were working for me at the time. I was a sergeant. So we thought about, we'll show how we respond to an active shooter. Like, it's completely different than a lot of responses. It's directed threat. You got to go in there and get the person stopped. So our idea was to show the teachers, administrators how we respond, and based on that, we give them some tools to do to keep the kids safe in the schools. Initially, we got a little pushback. People, we don't want the cops teaching all this tactical stuff to the teachers and stuff like that. I said, it's not about that. We're going to show you how we respond, and based on that, you make decisions on if you want to barricade classrooms, those sorts of things. So we put this program together, and you worked with us on all that. The first year we had about 100 people, and it got, just flying colors on that. In the next few years, it was 500-600 that we put through in the summers. Remember?
Yeah, I remember that.
And we used all the drama students came in. We bought them lunch, and it was, the scenarios were extremely just realistic. We had teachers and people crying at the end of these scenarios because they were so realistic. But one I like to talk about is the one where the kid goes to the bathroom from the classroom, and all of a sudden there's shots fired right out the classroom. He tries to get back in the classroom. That teacher's got to make a decision. Does she let him into the class or not? And, and it's really emotional. So at the end of these things, we'd talk, and I said, hey, if I was a teacher and I had to deal with this, I went through this class, I'd go back and tell my students, if something happens, you can't come back. We're going to barricade. Go figure something else out. That's what we wanted to do with this program, is that learning experience to get this, to make everybody safe. And we talked a lot to the kids. And one thing I like to think about is all those kids that worked with us, and those drama kids, if they were ever in a situation like that, they would know what to do because of that training, along with the teachers and administrators.
Yeah, they got a significant amount of hours doing that because the program got so big. I remember that we would be at some campuses for 5 days because so many people would register, and you'd have the whole auditorium full.
Right. We were looking at probably 60 people a day. We'd do 3 different schools. You remember, we'd move it around. We'd use Cienega, Desert View, and the Mountain View, and we'd move it around. We'd utilize all the different drama students in those areas and so forth, and bring the people in. We were doing probably 500 to 600 a week, right? No, pretty easily, and then it took off all over the country. So when you hear about an active shooter program any place in the nation, any place, we started right here at Pima County with the Pima County Sheriff's Department, the SR unit that I was running at the time. We put that together with 12 people.
Yeah,
proud of that. It's a pretty neat deal.
And it's still thriving here today.
All over. Yeah, they're continuing to do it, and so forth. And I know they're doing it all over the country. They're doing the training. I don't know. I think Farmer and Sam Chavez ended up going to Austin PD and stuff, and I don't know what he's doing now, but they were going around the country teaching a lot of this stuff initially. I don't know. Bill's running the SRO unit as a lieutenant right now.
That's incredible.
So he's and then and so forth. But I think he may still doing some teach. But they've got they went out and taught enough people that other people are teaching now throughout the country though. But right here, Pima County Sheriff's Department handled that one.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, you're taking a big step running for Pima County Sheriff here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what's your plan for that? What are you looking to change? What are your goals for that? If you were to be elected, what do you kind of movement are you trying to make happen?
Well, I think we need to get going in a positive direction again. There's been a black cloud over the department for a lot of years. 7 or 8 years. It's been through a couple different administrations and so forth, and just can't get out from underneath that. You have to understand how to kind of move past that, and I just don't think it's happening with the sheriff that's in there right now. So we need to get going back in a positive direction, and the way you do that is you got to support the people at the department, the men and women that work there, and so they can go out and proactively do their jobs. I think all over the country right now, law enforcement's a situation where people are simply going in and doing what they have to do because they just don't have the support in a lot of cases. Mm-hmm. And you want to start handling this stuff proactively. Not just respond afterwards and take a case report. You want to handle crime before it occurs. So you need to get back to that. Now, my platform, if you look at my platform on my website, it's been up there for almost a year and a half. I was the first one to go start getting signatures, fill out the paperwork to run. And I did a podcast with Don Fry and Dan Severn. Dan was a wrestling coach at ASU, and Don Fry's a big MMA guy. And I did that way back because I wanted my platform out there. I wanted people to see the things that I was talking about, because some people have actually, I think, picked up on some of these things that have started talking about. So I wanted to say, I got these ideas out there first and so forth. But I think about this all the time. I think about doing the job. It's going to be a tough job. I made a decision, I guess December, right after I retired in 22. So I talked to Mark Lamb on the phone, and I was going over a couple things, and that's when I finally made a decision. But I realized that, there's gonna be times you're laying there at night, looking at the ceiling, and going, man, what did I get myself into? It's going to take a lot of work and so forth. But I'm motivated for it. I thought about it. My wife was all on board for it, and we made a decision to really move ahead. But so my platform's out there. And it's Common Sense Immigration. We're going to go down, and we need to, you need to go down and start enforcing along that border, work with the federal agencies and the adjacent county agencies. You need to make those traffic stops. You need to find those people transporting these young girls for prostitution, those sorts of things, transporting the drugs. You utilize fighting dogs and so forth. I'm a big guy on the animal cruelty stuff, but if you look at how that platform works as a 360, all these things work together. If you got people fighting the dogs, the chickens, the illegal horse racing, you start charging with felonies with state charges, that gets their attention. And, proactive patrol along the border there is important. So I'm going to put a strong rural patrol group together that are going to be down there doing a lot of enforcement. So how do you get more people? It's easy to say you can do all these things, but you need more people. So that, right there, a reserve program comes into play. I'm going to utilize people retiring first and say, hey, just stay on. Give me at least a day a week. You keep all your equipment except the car. You won't have a take-home car, but you'll have everything else, and come in and help us out. It just gives us more people so we can spread out and do these different things. So, and then I'm going to roll it into the corrections aspect, where the corrections officers have an opportunity to where they can get post-certified through a reserve program. Then you have a hiring pool that comes over to the sheriff's department if they want to do that, or if they want to stay corrections in their commission, that they could come over and help also. And it's also a recruiting base for the corrections people, because it's hard to hire at the jail. You know that, David. Yep. It's hard to get people. It's a tough job. So if they have an opportunity to work there, and if they're doing well, they're off probation, they can go through a reserve program. That's a huge hiring tool for the jail. So this thing just really works in a lot of different areas.
Yeah, I've seen that model where the corrections officers in the county jails are certified deputies in a lot of places. I think in California it happens quite often and stuff, right? Or I think the Midwest.
Yeah, a lot of times. They years ago when I started, a lot of agencies, you would go through a post certification. We call it post here in Arizona, but a law enforcement certification where you're a commissioned officer, but you'd start in the jail. So your first few years would be in the jail. That's how they'd move them out. But, our jail back in the day, I worked there in 1990. So I've actually got 33 years on, because I started in the jail for a year, and then I went adult probation, then I went commission. So I say 31 years was commission time, but I've actually got about 33 years with the county. And so our jail, though, was called a direct modular kind of situation. It was at the time, the philosophy was really a neat idea of how you'd be in there with the inmates and take care of it. It's changed a little bit now, but you had a professionalism to the jail that these corrections officers were just, professional corrections officers. I think they really kind of stood out throughout the country the way that jail was handled at the time, and they still are. So there's been that separation, which is fine, I think, but I just want that opportunity to, if they want to do both, if they want to do it at outside interest. The other thing is we want to bring in, once we get this going and it's really take off, bring in a kind of a civilian population, bring them in and say, if you got the guy that's a pharmacist or the gal that's a pharmacist and they always been interested in law enforcement and they can pass a strong background, a strong physical fitness process and all that, they can come in and we'll have a reserve program there. There's no reason you can't utilize a good, strong reserve program to get a lot of people to help, because it's always about money, right? Always about money. That's one of the things you can do there.
Yeah, I've heard the money issue brought up before in some of our programs.
That's a huge issue when hiring all the time. So
yeah. I went to a conference for an organization I'm part of, a non-for-profit, and it was really eye-opening. I got to sit down with people that represented so many different law enforcement agencies all throughout the U.S. And the same thing was said, and it was pretty troubling. The average amount these departments were down on staffing nationwide was 50%.
Wow, yeah.
And then the other problem was when they had them in the academy, less than half was making it
through the academy.
Yeah. And they were like, we've even watered it down even more to accommodate whether it's the change in trainings and different things going on, climate and stuff. And they were still like, hey, we're dealing with this recruiting thing. Like we're still trying to combat it. But you have a plan where the incentive is, you're preparing them through the jail to be that post-certified role. Right. Because I'm going to give a personal opinion on this thing, right? Which I sometimes do, sometimes don't.
No, of course.
I worked corrections before.
I'd love to hear it.
Became a police officer.
Right. At the jail or in the state prison system?
State prison, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And when anybody asked me what was the most, where did you learn the most? And it was at the prison.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean? I mean, it's kind of you're just like a
locked
turkey.
in there with those guys, right? Yeah.
Yeah. You learn how to talk to
communicate, right?
People that, and if you can come out on the street with that training and that gift of talking to people, and you can just go walk up and talk to anybody, it really reinforces the proactive stuff that you're talking about, right? Because you're talking about your deputies going and hey, I'm gonna go check out and see what this person's up to, whether they do it by just asking them how their day is, right? That's how we start. Hey, how you doing today?
Sure,
Are you hungry?
Have that conversation.
That kind of stuff, right? And that's something that a lot of these representatives of these law enforcement agencies, they're like, yeah, we don't have time to do that. Yeah. We're just trying to keep up with the screen.
So I think that all works together when you look at these sorts of things, in that correction aspect to work them over. Now, and also you prevent the people that are there that are retiring. You've got all that experience that you can bring and keep on. And help with a lot of this training. I just don't understand why they used to have a reserve program. I don't know why it went out the door. It did quite a few years ago. You're talking about hiring. It is tougher these days. People aren't as interested. We've lost. It's a 401k now as opposed to a regular pension. That was huge. I mean, in law enforcement, that was a big deal. So there's a lot of different factors. And then I think the support from the community a lot of times, there's some of this negativity that pushes people away. But when I hired on, they used to, for 10 positions at the Sheriff's Department, I remember when I hired on, they filled the auditorium at the U of A 2 different times for the written exam. You had 2,600 people taking a written exam for 10 positions.
That's how it was for me when I applied at Pima County Sheriff's. Initially, that was the first place I tried when I was really young with no experience. And it was the auditorium was full. And it was for like 30.
Yeah. So now you have a situation where I think you hear that there's 50 or 60 people showing up for 10 positions, and about half of them aren't passing the process through a lot of different reasons. There, you've got the physical fitness, the written, and then the background, and that sort of thing starts. So, I think it's tough. It's tough getting really good people. You need good people. You need people with integrity in the job, and so forth. And we need to have bigger pools coming in, so we've got better choices, to get people into the job and so forth. But that's a problem, societal type problem that needs to be worked around. But I think, again, just getting the positive, supporting your people, having their backs, and that sort of thing just sets that example with the department. The Sheriff's Department with Marana and Oro Valley, a lot of these agencies that are phenomenal agencies now, when they were small agencies, we helped them come around and did a lot of the training with those agencies. They've always taken a lead. The SWAT team. We oversee the SWAT team, the regional team that incorporates all those agencies, negotiations, bombs. The K-9 guys take a lead in a lot of different things. So the Pima County Sheriff's Department's always been a leader in the Southern Arizona as far as the training for other agencies and taking the lead in this stuff. And unfortunately, right now, because there's so much negativity because of some of this stuff administrative-wise over the last few years, that people forget about the day-to-day operations of how good a job that deputies are doing, the corrections officers are doing, detectives, the administrative staff, your comm people. People think about a communication job when they're sitting on the phone with somebody that's just in a really, really bad situation. That's a tough deal, and you've got to have dispatchers that are able to handle those kind of things. We do, So, the day-to-day operations, there's hundreds of calls, hundreds of cases, and everything getting handled every day, but it's overshadowed right now at this point. So we need to move out from underneath that and get back where people are looking at the positive every day for the Pima County Sheriff's Department.
Right. So we've covered kind of the interior aspects of the campaign as far as the Sheriff's Department, what you're going to bring and change and recruiting and stuff like that.
Right.
So what's your message to the everyday citizen in Pima County? What changes are you going to make? What are you going to do different, or what ideas do you have for these everyday citizens that are going, hey, I'm seeing this happen. I see, the issue with the unhoused or the homelessness or however you want to call it these days. What are you bringing to the table for those everyday citizens, business owners, and those and such?
Okay, well, a couple of things. First, I think one of the strong suits for me is I've got a good retirement. I'm coming out of retirement. I've got plenty to do. I'm not doing it because I'm bored or ego or any of that sort of thing. I'm doing it because I want to get it going in a good direction. I think that you start, within the community that surrounds you to make a difference. In my experience as law enforcement, so I'm not tied down to this political aspect of having these, alliances and allegiance with certain board of supervisors and things like that. You kind of pat my back and I'll pat yours kind of deal. I don't need to do that. I work for the citizens of Pima County, right? The citizens out there and the deputies. You really work for the deputies too. So you need to give them the tools and the support to get the job done. And you answer to the citizens. And I'm one of those guys that I can go out there if I'm not getting what we need, if we're not getting compensation that's equal to other agencies and we're losing people, if we're not getting certain support, I can go out there to the public and ask for their help and have them bang on that door with those board of supervisors. And I'm willing to do that. Now, if you're down the road, if you're looking politically at things and you want to make sure that you're going to get voted back in and stuff, people make these. See, I'm not going to do that. I don't need to do that. I can put pressure on the county attorney so they pursue cases, those sorts of things, and I'm willing to do that. And I want people to hold me accountable to that. I give my phone number out. My personal number is 465-4112, and I want everybody to have it. So that's a strong suit, is I don't need the job. I'm doing the job because I want the job and I want to make a difference there. So to answer some of the stuff you were talking about, homeless stuff, that's a real, it's a problem. But you start with the fentanyl issue right now, and you can't just have this revolving door where these people get slapped on the hand for these minor charges. They show up, they say, I've used fentanyl, and then they're back out on the street, or they do a day and they're back out on the street. You've got to figure out a way to leverage them into some type of help. And if you can knock out 2 or 3 out of 10 initially, you're starting to fix the problem. But if they're just continuing and not held accountable, then it's going to continue. So you've got to get some help out there. And there's a lot of help for this substance abuse sort of thing. But one of the things, we were talking to a person the other night, and he brought up something that was interesting. We could use the schools, because there's some abandoned schools around Tucson, from TUSD, and build a school where we can use the people that are utilizing fentanyl instead of going to jail. Because right now what happens, you say, I'm using fentanyl, they're supposed to take them for a medical evaluation. A lot of times they just get a citation and they're field released. I think a lot of the agencies do that. If you take them and you have a medical staff set up at a separate location, you can monitor them for, the 24 hours or whatever you need to do, and you can handle an overdose. then you can hold these people accountable. You can roll them back over and put them through the system and have them not just walk away. So that's a way. That's one of the ways to kind of start with some of the fentanyl issue and the homeless issues. You got to start with the base problem, and that's a drug problem, drug, alcohol, those sorts of things. And you want to help the people out. You want to give them an opportunity to get off things and maybe get back in. And then you have to look. It's an opportunity and ask the community. You've got the Tucson, the business coalition here that's really involved with some stuff. Those people have to come forward, and I think they will, and offer some jobs to some of these people. If you have people that are rolling through the system, they're getting help, and they're doing, now you have to start thinking about how they get employed. So it's going to have to be the whole community. But as law enforcement, what we start is by holding people accountable out the door and saying, okay, we're not going to let you just continue to steal and throw trash down and urinate in public and do all these sorts of things. We're going to pull you in here. You're going to get the help. Your choice is to get the help, or we're gonna hang on to you, or you can go someplace else. So you've got to be able to do it that way. And then you have the community come in when you start getting people through this, and they start jumping on board, and you start, creating a good situation. Get them back out there, and they're positive, positive for the community out there. They're contributing to the community. That's what we need to do there. So. It's tough, though. It's going to take a lot of work.
It takes a lot. And you brought it in. The citizens have a responsibility too. The business owners have a responsibility
everybody does. And I think people want to help. But you have to have, right at the bottom with us, we have to have the support from the county attorney and stuff to continue to hold them accountable first. That's what's happening. They've got to be held accountable.
So you said something, and you don't have to go too deep into this. And this is just me being prior law enforcement and asking this question. What do you mean we're just field releasing people for fentanyl?
Well, they're
in possession of it and they're getting field released, or are they paraphernalia?
Okay, let me clarify a little bit. So right now, my understanding is that if somebody goes to the jail and they say they've utilized fentanyl, they're getting medically rejected.
Oh.
Okay. And they're supposed to be taken to a hospital for an evaluation at that point. So you got to run them over there. Well, there's cost to the community.
Right.
It costs money to have those sorts of things. And I think what is going on at times is that people are just getting a field release. So if it was a misdemeanor charge, they just walk out with them and they field release them, because these people have learned to say.
I was going to ask, do they know to do that?
Yeah,
they talk to each other. Hey, when you get into jail, just go. Hey, I use fentanyl, and they say
it's exactly what's going on. So I've used fentanyl. So now there's a consideration that you don't want them in there, and then the other way that you handle is you handle a metal. So I talk about having a separate location because we need to make some decisions on this jail. We need to decide if they're going to build a new one or try to remodel this. And, infrastructure-wise, you have to build some stuff. So it might be better to find a good school there and use that, one of these abandoned schools, and design. But you've got to have a medical staff that can handle an overdose. So when they say, I use fentanyl, then you say either at jail, you're set up to do it, or you move them over to another location. Then you can monitor them for whatever period of time. And if there is an overdose, if they really did do it and there's a problem, you've got the medical staff on scene. It's going to cost a little money, but you've got them on scene that they can handle that overdose or until they can get them stabilized and transported to a regular hospital. But as soon as you monitor them, they're fine, then they go through the system. They don't get just to walk off. And I think on a felony charge, what they're doing, they'll walk them back out and do a summons, They just basically tell them you'll be contacted, you need to, report to court and that sort of thing. So... it's just kind of this revolving door. They've learned to play the game. As you know, working in the prisons and deal with people, a lot of these people are really intelligent out there. If they can get off drugs and focus on things, they'll contribute to society.
There was a lot of individuals in there that get their degrees in there.
Yeah.
And they get certified in HVAC and all kinds of stuff while they're in there.
Daniel Gutierrez, I was with him last night. He's running for Congress. He did 10 years in prison, and it was all drug related. And he's cleaned up, and he's doing that, and he's actually running against Raul Grijalva. He's been on the Republican ticket, and sharp guy. I was down at on the border with him last week with Jim Chilton. He's a big Chilton down there on the border. He's a big rancher down there in Arivaca. He has 5 miles of his ranch is right on the Mexico border, and but he talks a lot about having gotten through this and gotten off everything, and he runs 2 businesses, painting companies and so forth, and he's running and so forth. And he talks about the same thing. You've got to have a plan to kind of help people out. We just can't just continue to just, handle them every 3 or 4 days and do this circle, where type of deal. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, hey, thank you for all this insight. It was great to hear about what you're doing. And what
Hey,
you're bringing
Bill,
to the table.
I got a real quick thing for you since you're in here. Before we let you go, I think one of the things you mentioned was really valuable in that hanging on to some of the retirees and turning them into part-timers, especially because you figure the average retiree will call it good about 50, and then they still got from like 50 to 65 to figure out what to do, how to make a living, how to stay engaged, how to get health insurance, probably more important than anything. So I think incentivizing that to keep a lot of your retirees for the lower acuity calls and the different things that you still do is probably a great idea.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, no, I think and we've got that experience out there, and they come in and work a day or two a week, and patrol, help out in CID, the criminal investigations. You can do a lot of different things like that. But why not give the people that have been there for all those years, that have all that experience, give them an opportunity to hang around and support the community and support the department, And I'm going to ask people to do that, and I think the majority will. They're going to have people that are probably moving out of state and doing, heading up to the mountains and building a house or something. They don't want to hang around Tucson, but the ones that do, and it gives people something to do. We all look for things to do when you retire and get out of there, and it's nice to have something that you can come back to and help out that makes a difference. So
Absolutely. Hey, how do people find you online and read more about you?
It's billforsheriff.org with the number 4, billforsheriff.org, and look at my platform and give me a call. I'm telling you, if you have a question, call me up and give anybody my phone number. All right. I'll answer the phone.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Bill, it was a pleasure having you here with us today, man.
Good
You're always
seeing you
welcome to
again.
stop
It's been
by.
a little while.
Yeah, I know, huh? We'll see each other a little more. We'll see
okay,
you.
thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, good.
Discover the power of 88 Crime, where your anonymous tips are rewarded with cash. When you call in anonymously with the tip, you are given a code. With the code and a password, you can walk into a bank and redeem your reward anonymously. If your anonymous tip results in a felony arrest, you can claim up to $2,500 cash reward. Let's stop the silence on crime and strive for a safer community. For more information, please visit 88crime.org or call 88crime.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, coppercreekcookies.net.
We can print anything on our soft vanilla logo cookies. We deliver them and other sweet treats locally. We are located at 4249 West Ina Road, Suite 121. Call us 520-300-1131. We bake smiles.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, coppercreekcookies.net.
Are you looking to establish a powerful online presence for your brand? Look no further than Live the Dream Media. Our team of experts possess the capabilities and skills necessary to make it happen. From creating compelling content to analyzing data and making strategic decisions, we've got it covered. Don't let a lack of social media know-how hold you back. Visit ltdmedia.net for more information.
Hi, I'm Alan Murdoch. For the past 20 years, I've been buying, fixing, and selling properties right here in Southern Arizona. And I want to buy your property. Whether it's a house, apartment, commercial building, or vacant land, regardless of the condition or the situation, I want to talk to you. When you sell to me, I pay cash and it's hassle-free. No repairs, no closing costs, and no commissions. If you have a property you don't want to deal with and you want a quick solution, call, text, or visit selltoalan.com. Again, that's selltoalan.com.
Hi, I'm Melissa Zuppi, running for the Marana Town Council. As a resident of Marana, I've witnessed the positive growth that has created a strong community where people in all stages of life want to live. Unfortunately, with growth comes traffic. One of my top priorities and goals is to work towards securing funding for the improvement of Marana's high-traffic I-10 interchanges and local roadways. Let's keep Marana moving forward together. Vote Melissa Zuppi, Marana Town Council.
Hi, I'm Ed Honey, and I'm running for mayor of the town of Marana. I can assure you that if you have water now in the town of Marana, you will have it for the rest of your life. Water is not going to go away. Our water table in North Marana has gone from 300 feet down to 140 feet at the current status. Water will be here forever. Please support Melissa Zuppi, Roxanne Ziegler, and Ed Honey for Marana Town Council.
All right. We are back. Thank you so much for listening in and watching. That was Pima County Sheriff candidate Bill Phillips. We still have a little time left, and we are going to cover some cool stuff this last half hour. Some of it's going to be some AI stuff, and we're also going to talk about how we're opening our studio on the weekends so you can broadcast like this. So you can just walk in, have your program ready, and do your own thing. El Presidente's walking in right here, so if you see his head pop through the camera, there he is. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Welcome back. All right, we're talking about how we're going to talk about AI and then opening the studio on the weekend. So if you're listening and watching and you're wanting to rent the studio and have your stuff broadcasted live on social media, you can use some of our channels. Maybe you already have a channel. Reach out to us. We can get you going. It's an awesome platform.
Hey, that was a good segment with Bill Phillips there.
Yeah, these political candidates, they're, these ones, these guys and gals running and everything around here. There's a lot of good talent. I'm pretty pumped about all the different talent.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
I've had conversations with people who are like, man, it's like when you get a good core group like that, it's almost hard to you wish they were all running for something else.
Right. That's what I don't want to get into what I was thinking when I was watching that. But, we are all cynical. I'm pretty cynical. I shouldn't say we all, but I'm fairly cynical sometimes when it comes to these candidates. But a lot of them that we know and are engaged with, these are some really high quality people. And so
absolutely.
That gives me a lot of confidence moving forward.
Yeah. All right, let's change the page here. So it was yesterday, and I saw a video of Eric Schmidt, who is the former CEO of Google. Mm-hmm. And you know how we pay attention to AI and all this stuff going on. This video impacted me so much to the point that when we came in here to the studio this morning, I was like, we got to find a way to get this clip onto the show. And so I want to cite where this clip is from first. So Facebook and everybody, make sure you're noting that I cited this. It's from Noema Magazine. He did a video interview with him. And we're just going to cover the first, it's 3 minutes and 40 seconds. But to give you the Spark Note version of what he's going to be talking about is he's going to be talking about how a lot of the larger AI model builds right now are built and what their trajectory is. And I'm not a person that likes to spread fear or get people kind of riled up, but I think it's important to hear what Eric is saying, because this is a neutral approach to this, right? And it's something to pay attention to, and I think people need to start paying attention to this stuff. I know we're all focusing on a lot of other things, but this is really important. And Scott, I had put the video feed into our program. I think you already have it locked and loaded, so just go ahead and listen to this and check this out, and then we'll discuss it afterwards.
There are roughly now that are going to profoundly change the world very quickly. And when I say very quickly, the cycle is roughly a new model every year to 18 months. The first is basically this question of context window. And for non-technical people, the context window is the prompt that you ask. So, study John F. Kennedy or something. Right. But in fact, that context window can have 1 million words in it. And this year, people are inventing a context window that is infinitely long. And this is very important because it means that you can take the answer from the system and feed it in and ask it another question. So I want a recipe. Let's say I want a recipe to make a drug or something. They say, what's the first step? And it says, buy these materials. Mm-hmm. So then you say, okay, I bought these materials. Now what's my next step? And then it says, buy a mixing pan. And then the next step is, how long do I mix it for? You see, it's a recipe. That's called chain of thought reasoning. And it generalizes really well. We should be able, in 5 years, for example, to be able to produce 1,000-step recipes to solve really important problems in science, in medicine, in material science, climate change, that sort of thing. That's the first one. Second one is agents. And an agent can be understood as a large language model that knows something new or has learned something. So an example would be read all of chemistry, learn something about chemistry, have a bunch of hypotheses about chemistry, run some tests in a lab about chemistry, and then add that to your agent. These agents are going to be really powerful, and it's reasonable to expect that agents will be, not only will there be a lot of them, and I mean millions, but they'll be like the equivalent of GitHub for agents. There'll be lots and lots of agents running around and available to you. And the third one, which to me is the most profound, which is already beginning to happen, is text to action. And what that is write me a piece of software to do something, right? You just say it. I mean, can you imagine having programmers that actually do what you say you want? And it does it 24 hours a day. And strangely, these systems are good at writing code such as language like Python. You put all that together, and you've got infinite context window, the ability for agents, and then the ability to do this programming. Now, this is very interesting. What then happens? There's a lot of questions here, and now we get into the questions of science fiction. I'm sure the three things I've named are happening because that work is happening now. But at some point, these systems will get powerful enough that you'll be able to take the agents and they'll start to work together, right? So your agent and my agent and her agent and his agent will all combine to solve a new problem. At some point, people believe that these agents will develop their own language. And that's the point when we don't understand what we're doing. You know what we should do? Pull the plug. Literally unplug the computer. So it's really a problem.
Pull the plug.
Pull the plug. There's a lot to unpack there, right, gents?
Pull the plug.
I mean, the first part of it had me so excited because we're talking about the possibility of solving the most complex medical issues.
Cancer. Diabetes. Which
affects all of us in some shape or form. We've all, and I know it's, let's do that, right? Let's invest in it. But then you hear the back end of it where he's like, we could potentially be in some trouble because it becomes too powerful, right? So it's like everything in life, I couldn't help but just try to understand the complexity of finding a balance in it. And you go, well, if we pull the plug, now we don't have access to that kind of, we can like archive all the stuff we learned or had the information for that point, but it's like, what do we do? So if we go forward in the AI world, like where we pull the plug at that point, if we continue from that point, what happens?
I guess the real question, and this is so far advanced over the average person, including myself's thinking
ditto
process. But how do we build, and I don't know, how do we build guardrails into this?
Yeah.
Because it seems to me like if we're capable of programming and creating the content that would produce the stuff that we use AI for. Full disclosure, we've been using AI since it became like a thing, right?
Yeah.
We were some of the first people to use it for brainstorming, for the lack of a better word. It's totally safe, benign use of it. You know, no illegal or nefarious thoughts have ever crossed my mind into these prompts.
Yeah.
But can't we build, and again, I'm asking that question, some sort of safeguards into these that says, hey, when we hit this point, that's the third rail, you come back?
Yeah.
Because AI, as we see it and view it and use it, is incredible. And it's everywhere.
Right.
It's not just some platform that we type a prompt into. It's like we've discussed before. It's your thermostat in your house. It's all the new software. It's all this. This is artificial intelligence.
Right.
A calculator is artificial intelligence. Think about it. So we are all affected by it one way or another, whether we realize it or not. So, and everybody utilizes it, whether your car with speed, cruise control and stuff, is that not yet another form of artificial intelligence? You're getting machinery to operate or equipment to operate or things to operate remotely. Your remote control is, again, isn't that artificial intelligence?
Yeah. It's just like you look at everything else on the internet and how most of it is unregulated, other than by the organizations that have a platform that people access, right? For instance,
So the platforms can, but again, I guess that's what I'm saying.
yeah,
If the creators, let's use Facebook as an example, they can control what they want to control. Fair enough.
right.
There's a lot they don't, but the stuff they want to control, they can, and that's true with all the platforms. Fair enough. Can't we, as a society, when we're building these AI tools, create that same kind of? I guess it's the desire to do it.
Yeah, yeah. It's the desire, but when you're fighting the make a profit concept of it, right? You're where are we going to focus? Where are a lot of the focus? Where's a lot of resource? Where are all the resources going to be focused? I can't talk right now. We're going to put the resources into making the technology stronger, better, faster, just like we love the American way, right? We like things to be fast, good, and affordable, right? So for me, I see it, I go, okay, well, I don't really see these AI companies putting a lot of resources into the safeguarding of it. And then if they don't, who do you give that type of authority to?
Yeah.
Right? Like you look at the Apple App Store, right? There's an overseer of these app stores, and they can decide and dictate if your app is going to exist in there or not. Not only that, you have to pay to be in the app store. A lot of money. And then they take, a percentage of all the sales and money you make through your app on these platforms. So it's like they have an overseer that decides these things, and it's like, well, who do you put into the authority of that, right? So it's just
I don't. That's Scott. You want to jump in here?
Deep.
I mean, I know you've got an opinion or two about this.
Yeah. What are you thinking?
What are you thinking, Scott?
Well, I think one of the best solutions that I've found to this point, once it gets out of control, is to build the ability to travel back in time, and then take out the people that invented it at first. But I think the problem with that is that the robots will also be really good at time travel. So they'll
This
be
is
trying
a
to go
Star Trek
back.
episode you're talking about here. I've actually seen this.
But I think it's given us the best solution of what to do when this gets out of control is really harness time travel, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
What was that? I didn't. I'm not a big TV guy, but I know there was a TV show. Matter of fact,
that wasn't the Terminator. That was me inventing this idea. That had nothing to do with the Terminator.
Oh yeah, that's kind of.
But there was one. There was
Terminator.
a couple of them that there was time travelers that
Yeah.
went back and fixed stuff. I know there was definitely a Star Trek episode that was doing this.
Yeah,
that talked about this.
Yeah, that's
I think we all would agree. Anything that's going to, because I heard, I didn't hear him, but I read, because I don't watch stuff. I read stuff. But Elon Musk said the other day that AI would replace all jobs. Well, how does that happen?
I think it happens a lot easier than you think.
Okay, then what do we
jobs.
do? What do we do? Are we just on like permanent vacation then? Because I believe for me personally, I believe human beings were engineered and designed by our Creator to build and accomplish stuff. I think that's in our DNA. And if we're sitting around twiddling our thumbs, eating bonbons all day, sitting on the beach, we
just fall into a stage of decadence, right?
I don't think we have to just be
grow.
constantly grinding. I don't believe that either. But on the same token, I think we're wired and developed and created to grow, to work, to build. Hey, is it nice to have a microwave that heats things up? And is it great to have, Scott alluded to it earlier, a grill that runs on Wi-Fi and pellets and you can control it? That's awesome, Because I've done it the other way, and that's a lot of work to keep your fire going and keep the temperature right and all that. So a lot of the convenience factors, like again with AI, we use AI a lot around here for, especially like in our software and stuff. All the software that we're using is artificial intelligence.
But let's be honest here, okay? I'm gonna ask. I want an honest answer from you guys. If we have the ability to have robots or these agents or whatever, right, to clean our household
absolutely
every day.
Again, we're talking to Jetsons.
Okay, well, we're also talking. I think it was iRobot, right? Is that where they were like more of a servant type of?
But the Jetsons
robots.
was 1960, and they, what was her name? She had a name, and she cleaned the house. And
can you Google the name of that, Scott, so we don't die in thought here?
Hazel, the robot, or
it's.
I mean, I'm talking 1960. They had robots cleaning their space house.
Did you hear his time frame?
Yeah, 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years. We're in the Jetsons, Clint.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I have a robot that cleans my floor.
Dude, I'm the guy that had party phones and black and white TV and 3 channels and payphone booths and stuff. I mean,
we haven't figured out the flying car part yet.
Yeah.
I found the robot. So here's all the Jetsons cast, and what we did is Rosie was the robot maid.
Yeah.
Now she looks kind of like a giant square vacuum on wheels, and I think that ours can probably look however you want it to.
Oh yeah, but, you want a hot model
when you have Rosie in your house.
Yeah, well, you can have whatever you want in there cleaning. Come on. I'm seeing a lot of stuff on Facebook now. These pictures and stuff of like younger actresses and stuff. Got to be AI. It's got to be. I mean, it's not. When I'm looking, you start paying attention to like older stuff. It's AI because it's not really them. Because I remember them when a lot of them were younger, and I'm like, this is all AI created this picture.
Yeah,
I'm convinced of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, so the whole interview is like 20 minutes on Noema Magazine. You can find it on YouTube and plenty of other places. So I want to make sure that Facebook knows and YouTube knows that we are giving credit for that. And we can throw it in the comments. Too, there's more to it. And I don't want to spoil it. I would really encourage people to go watch the whole thing. This is a it's where does the human mind comprehend?
Yeah, but again,
Beyond
guys,
this.
I've seen this again. I'm old enough to remember a lot of these things. It all boils down to this: who is in charge, who's programming, It's all boils down. If you have good intent, we can get good results.
Yeah,
it's in the Bible. You reap what you sow.
Right.
The computer company come along years later and put garbage in, garbage out. They're saying the same thing in reverse, by the way. TV, I'm old enough to remember when TV was going to ruin everything. They couldn't show Elvis from the waist down because he was gyrating. All this stuff. We're just recycling. The difference between this and radio and TV is the speed that we work at and the ability to create massive weapons of destruction, if you will, to go back in time, to create harm at a much quicker pace. But
here's a question for our listening audience is, let's say that AI can do everything for you could ever ask for. What would you end up doing with your time is probably a good solution. I'd like to hear from people and see what they really think.
That's a great question,
Yeah,
Scott,
we're going to cut what you just asked into a reel.
Yeah.
Because that's a great question.
Because what would you do? What? No, really. I mean,
what would I do with my time? So I have a problem. I can't just do nothing.
That's the point.
I'm
that's
doing
the whole thing,
something.
David.
I'm building something. I'm doing something productive.
We were created to do. We were engineered and wired to do stuff. To build
I don't like
stuff,
video
accomplish
games.
stuff. Yeah, video games would be out. You could only read so much. I would read. You'd spend more time with your family. But what would you do?
You know what this is, too? This is the materialistic view of the afterlife. As an example, like my son and I would joke around and be like, okay, you're in heaven, you could do whatever you want. Like,
that's a great.
You start
point,
doing
Scott.
things, and then you're like, well, that would be that's cool for a little while, but then I would get bored. Like, what would I do with my time? And if you really think about it, and you're trying to conceptualize a very materialist view of heaven, you get bored no matter what it is you're doing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting.
That is an interesting take on it.
That's a great take, Scott. Wow.
And then you got to think about this too, right? Let's say we're in that situation. Well, if we're not generating any income, right? Like, now do you have to own a robot to generate income?
Yeah.
Because that's the only other thing, unless you become a slave to the robots.
Now you're going all Revelations on me.
Well, that's
because that's what we're talking about,
right? So either you.
So who has the money? How do you if you don't? Yeah.
The tech companies or the robots do. I mean, you don't. I mean, the regular 9-to-5ers, right? That get replaced by all this stuff.
Yeah.
What's your next step?
Yeah.
Right, because you're not going to be able to go and learn all the stuff necessary to be in this field at that time. Like, it'll have to be an evolving.
David, we talk about this. Scott, we talk about this. Me personally, and I know you guys are. I don't want to use the word guilty, but you're in that same. About one day off, I'm done.
Yeah,
I got. I mean, I can't set longer than a day.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, I'll read, but
yeah,
I can't read 24/7. I need to be busy doing, building, creating, thinking about stuff. Thinking about how I work with you guys. That's what I need to do. That's what we're wired for. Right. If you take that out, I don't think mankind's. You know what? Just check out. Let the robots run it.
Well, that's what that wouldn't.
That's kind of the whole purpose.
What's your role at that point, right? I mean.
Yep, everybody's doing drugs. Everybody's getting in fights.
Yeah.
They're just wasteful with their time. Like,
I don't.
It's that, but I'd be curious because maybe we're missing something, and maybe our listening audience has a lot of great ideas of what they would do with their time, and they're not wired the same way that we are. We're very like-minded, the three of us, in our desire to build and create and do a lot of those types of things.
You know what, though, Scott, and you're right, 100%. But think about just people in general. Okay, what if you're just sitting on the couch
eating Cheetos,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. That's not even living, in my opinion.
Right.
And Rosie the robot's walking around cleaning it up and bringing you more Cheetos. Well, that's
so you'll have Rosie the robot clean the house for you. You'll be sitting down eating Cheetos.
Yeah.
And you'll be watching AI generated films.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. That just sounds
that's your 5 to 10 year outlook.
Yeah. And you'll be able to live forever because we'll cure all the diseases and such and fix all the problems. So you'll.
See, that doesn't sound appealing at all either. I know that might sound dark.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if I would want to be here for 200, 300 years.
Yeah.
Like, I already, like, people do weird stuff and get under my skin sometimes.
It's already too people-y out there.
There's a lot of good stuff that goes on, but like, the track meet's got to end at some point. I mean, we got to hit the finish line.
Yeah. 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 Trust me, as you get closer to it, you think about those things.
Yeah.
But I think it's a legitimate concern.
Yeah.
That you bring up. I think it's a legitimate concern.
I wouldn't bring it up otherwise if just some Joe Schmo was talking about it.
But
that's bold to go on there.
I'm going to say what I say to you a lot, David.
God's got us.
God's got us, and things just have a way of working out because, again, I've seen the end of the world happen about every 10 years for the last six and a half decades. And,
he'll reference good points, too.
And here we are.
Yeah.
You know, we were running out of oil in the 70s.
Oh, I know, right? I remember hearing about that.
People was in line in their cars, and they were limited, and depending on where you're at, you could only buy on odd or even numbered days, and you could only get 10 gallons. And my gosh, it got up to $1 a gallon, and that was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And we discover we've got way more oil in everywhere than we ever dreamed we had at that time. We've gotten better. We've gotten better at refining it. We've gotten better at discovering it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of good things. If we could just take all this technology that we create and just like jigger it, I know you love that word, for good, we could accomplish a whole lot. We probably would already have the cure for cancer. We probably would already have the cure for diabetes. We'd probably already have the cure for AIDS. We probably would already have the cure for all these things if we would devote our time to that. But you mentioned that 5-letter word earlier, and it's money, and the love of money is the root of all evil.
Not money, the love of money.
The love of money. I said that.
I got you. Yeah, no, I just want to clarify so people don't go,
no,
he said that money is the root of all evil.
Money, there's nothing wrong with money. We all want a little bit, and it's nicer to have some than not.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the stuff I'm a man of faith. Anybody that doesn't know me, I'm clarifying that right now. I am a man of faith, and so a lot of this stuff concerns me, but I'm not going to freak out completely because at the end of the day, I know who I trust in and who holds tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to bring this on the show to cause
people need to be aware of it and think about it.
Awareness of
and
anything.
looking at it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Awareness of anything is good, and I'm
Let
not trying to be like a martyr.
Let me
or
ask you a
anything.
question, David. Honestly, of all the people on, let's just talk the United States, okay, 350 million, let's say now, give or take. How many people you think could even have any influence on the outcome of this, other than they just demand regulation on it? I mean, we're talking about a handful of people that control this whole thing. We're talking about a handful of people, seriously, that control everything,
right,
globally. And so there's only a handful of people that have the responsibility and hopefully the moral compass to build this thing properly. And if I honestly believe if you build a machine, right, as smart as some people are, you ought to be able to build the guidelines into it.
Yeah.
Or the guardrails, I mean.
Right.
Right? Am I wrong? Scott, you're smart. Hey, for the record, I get to hang out with a couple of really smart people every day. I really do.
Likewise, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are like really smart, and it challenges me.
Yeah.
Makes me be on my best behavior.
The theory is sound, but I think that's what you also see in a lot of governments that turn communist, is the altruistic intention of, if we just had a benevolent king and leader, then it would be safe and it would be protected. But humans are humans, and humans are corruptible, and that's the tough part. Is you can't, if we're relying on a handful of people that are at the top of the hierarchy, we're relying on the wrong people, and we need to come together in different communities and societies and say what we want. For the same reasons that states are protected by some federal things and some cities are protected by some state things. It's like it gets back down into that local community, and who are your leaders in your local community, and what type of life do they want to have, and building that as your main focus.
You know what, Scott? Just to amplify what you just said, we the people in the United States, but that could be globally, we the people demand and then hold accountable.
Boom.
Yep.
There you go.
We demand and we hold accountable. Yeah. But that means we have to be proactive.
And that's what I'm trying to do with this. This is why I wanted to bring it up.
You cannot sit on the sideline, eat bonbons, and expect it to go away. Everybody needs to be proactive in their community. They need to be proactive in their leadership. They need to be proactive in life. They need to how about this? How about being proactive in your family?
Yeah. Ooh. There you go. Yeah. Call them out. Call them out.
Hey, right there.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much for joining us today. We will be back again tomorrow. What time are we going to be at? Same time tomorrow?
8:30.
8:30, and we'll have Jan Lesher on, and we'll do another one of these. So if you missed anything today, no worries. It will be in podcast format by the end of the day or early morning. And again, we want to thank our sponsors and Bill Phillips for joining us today. We look forward to providing more content for you, and we have more content creators coming for you. Have a great one.
Boom.